Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we discuss a modern classic launched in 2014, the successor to 2013's smash hit Dark Side of the Moon. This is the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch Gray Side of the Moon. In many ways, a more versatile and more interesting watch than the one that came the year before. This timepiece once upon a time commanded long wait lists at Omega dealers, giving them, for the briefest moment, a taste of what it's like to be Rolex. But unlike Rolex, this watch does a lot of things differently in ways that Rolex, because of its conservatism, cannot. So while this is no longer a wait-listed watch, it remains one of the watches at the absolute top of my list of timepieces I would love to own someday. So all in gray ceramic, 44.25 millimeters in diameter, 16.4 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 49.8 millimeters with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. It's big. It's probably at the limit of what I could wear. My wrist is 16, and you can see the watch is not beyond the edge of my wrist, but it's out to the edge. And over the top, again, you see the same. The lugs are out to the edge of my wrist, but not beyond. It is very comfortable. Being made entirely of ceramic and sapphire, it is very, very light for its size. And you can see it does in fact fit on my wrist, but it's big. 16 centimeter circumference wrist and up, it's going to fit. Now it's thick, but it also has an overlap of the bezel beyond the case. So that little cantilever to the bezel means it'll probably get hung up on tight sleeves, but probably not jacket cuffs. The strap is good looking, dark gray like the watch with a contrasting stitch that's a bit lighter. You can see these large rectangular symmetrical scales of alligator leather, indicative of a very premium cut of the animal. There is some bolstering close to the lugs or stuffing to give it volume. We have that contrasting gray stitch and then a folded edge, and then on the bottom calfskin with a contrasting red stitch. You can also see that there is a rubber gusset sewn into the strap to give it durability against gouging and tearing. And then this is one of the most important and most impressive parts of the watch. Yeah, you can get it on a folding clasp, but that makes it feel somehow less special. It's this extraordinary polished full ceramic buckle and pin that makes the experience for me. On a lot of watches from other brands, you'd get a ceramic case, but then you'd get some sort of PVD metal buckle because they couldn't make a reliably sturdy and strong ceramic component that small or that fine. Well, here, Omega is able to do that through Swatch Group's constituent companies, which master every part of the art of watchmaking and every component that goes into making a watch. Brushed in profile, mirrored and polished on the top. This is the part of the watch that sits under your wrist when you're at work, working on your keyboard, desk diving, going back and forth, and all of the scratching will make nary a mark on the ceramic components. And that's really why you buy ceramic. Yes, it looks cool, and to Omega's credit, it is finished the same standard as if this were metal, which is difficult to do and requires incredibly precise and sharp tools and hard milling surfaces. But the lightness, the hypoallergenic qualities, and most of all, the resistance to scratches are what attract me to this material. I hate scratched watches, and when I buy pre-owned, I want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the watch has never been polished. And you know that with ceramic. It can't be polished, but it also doesn't need to be polished unless you do something really silly. Likely, it'll never get a single mark in its time on your wrist. You can see how the ceramic can be polished to look like metal, and it can also be brushed in a satin finish. Taking a look at the crown and really the bezel and the whole dial, we're going to treat ourselves to a light show. This is one of the reasons the watch is more interesting than the Dark Side. It is much more luminescent than the Dark Side. The bezel, the crown insert, the entire dial, good looking and unique. Taking a look at the dial, things get better. We have blackened white gold hands and indices, the highest quality of dial furniture available. These will not tarnish or discolor with time because they are inert and non-reactive. And then we have a platinum dial, and you can see it actually says PT950 just below the hands. A platinum media blasted dial, just like the old steel platinum hybrid Rolex Yachtmasters. So you get precious metal hands and indices, and then a platinum dial. You also get a sophisticated chronograph that is a twin register chronograph. You can see the superimposed chronograph hour and minute hands, and the idea there is that you have this clean and simple twin register dial, but you have chronograph seconds and then minutes and hours. So you get a modern 3-register chronograph. A couple of different ways to set this watch. It has a mode for, let me get my nails in there. I trim these nails for you, dear public. It has a mode that allows you to set the hour hand independently, which allows you to jump the date forward or backwards depending on which way you travel across the international date line. And this is great because you can change your time zone without stopping the watch. The seconds continue to advance, the chronograph is not halted, the minute hand is not displaced. However, if I pull the crown out all the way, I activate the hacking seconds function. Now I can set everything and the seconds hands stop. Column wheel feel for the chronograph, quite sharp and precise. This is a column wheel chronograph. It's also a vertical clutch chronograph. So you start the chronograph and the seconds hand moves into action. It commences without jumping or staggering. There is no play in a vertical clutch. Also, there's no additional wear and tear to the watch. So if you want to run a vertical clutch full time to have center hours, minutes, and seconds, just ignore the chronograph minutes and hours. You can do that and have a more animated watch dial without wearing down the timepiece. We have this large glass box style sapphire on the reverse of the watch. You can see it is zirconium oxide. The watch is 50 meters water resistant, but it's not a screw down crown, so I recommend you not swim with it. Caliber 9300, which is the chronograph version of the 8500. Bidirectional winding on ceramic bearings for efficiency, twin barrels for a nice flat, consistent torque supply to the escapement so it doesn't gallop when fully wound or start losing a lot of amplitude and slowing down after 18, 24, 36 hours. 60-hour power reserve, of course, 5-position adjustment, COSC chronometer certification for this 54-jewel movement. You could see the column wheel through a little hole in the bridge. Best way to describe this column wheel is that it's sort of a hybrid of a column wheel and a cam, but the feel, the crispness is that of a column wheel. Taking another look, you can see we have a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance for shock resistance. We have an anti-magnetic silicone hairspring. We have a beat rate of 25,200 vibrations per hour, which is specific to the silicone hairspring. And then we have a tri-level coaxial. It sits on a separate little bridge. You can see there's another bridge underneath the balance bridge right there. That's where the coaxial escapement is. Invented by George Daniels in the 70s, industrialized by Omega in 1999. The 8500 series, and shortly after the 9300 chronograph variant, came out in 2007, and this tri-level purpose-built coaxial escapement in a purpose-built coaxial movement realizes all of Daniels' ambitions for the mechanism in terms of durability, lower maintenance, improved power reserve, and improved chronometry. The watch gives you that. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.